Have you ever thought about the rivers flowing inside your body? The blood vessels, though small, carry within them a miraculous power. They not only nourish each cell, but they also whisper to us, telling stories of life and death, of the invisible changes happening every day inside our bodies. We can never hear their voices, but if we listen closely, we can feel each heartbeat, each drop of blood flowing through the tiny veins, like invisible rivers, yet incredibly important. Let's explore the blood that flows within us, a vibrant world that we still don't fully understand. Don't forget to subscribe to Smart Sleep so we can uncover these fascinating mysteries together. Blood, the river flowing within our bodies. This is the image we can conjure when thinking about life, the miraculous journey of existence, about each moment we are living. To grasp even a small part of the relationship between blood and life, we need to take some time to sit down, relax, and listen not with our ears, but with our hearts. For the blood, though unseen, carries its own story, a song whose every heartbeat is its only note. When we think of blood, we may simply think of a red liquid, carrying oxygen and nutrients to sustain our bodies. But this blood, traveling through each blood vessel, through every tiny path, plays an irreplaceable role. It is not just the flow of liquid, it is the path of life. Every cell in our body, from the skin cells, muscle cells, to those deep within our brain, is nurtured and preserved by the blood. And it is the blood that connects everything together, a symbol of existence, of a perfect ecosystem within the body. The blood is like the small rivers that constantly flow, winding through valleys, curling over hills, and snaking through mountains to reach every corner of the body. And with every heartbeat, every breath we take, each time we feel alive, it is the sign of the blood flowing, uninterrupted. Looking at a river in nature, we can see its strength, its resilience. Rivers never stop flowing, no matter how many rocks block their path, no matter how many storms try to hinder them. The river always finds its way, moving forward with persistence. The blood in our bodies is the same. It never stops, not for a second, no matter the invisible obstacles or harsh conditions. Pain, wounds, or even severe illness cannot stop the blood from flowing. As long as there is life, as long as there is hope, it continues its journey. Sometimes we don't realize it, but the blood quietly whispers, telling us stories of life. The blood is also like a river that always moves in the direction it needs to. It knows exactly where to go, where to stop, to nourish, regenerate, and heal wounds. A healthy circulatory system is like a river flowing steadily, without pause. Each heartbeat is like the wave of a great river, pushing the water through small streams, across hills, and onto lush plains. The blood carries nutrients, oxygen, and life to every part of our body, from the skin to the muscles in motion, to the hard-working nerve cells. Through this, we understand that blood is not just a physical element, but also a bridge for spiritual life, for the emotions we can feel with every beat of the heart. It is the system that nourishes not only the body but also our soul, making us feel truly alive, truly present in this world. Perhaps without the blood, without this river, we wouldn't be able to live or feel the world around us. When we laugh, when we love, when we suffer, when we cry, all those emotions are accompanied by the presence of blood. It makes those emotions real. And when we are tired, when we need rest, when we feel drained of energy, it is the blood that gives us strength, carrying the necessary nutrients to regenerate our body's energy. That's why we cannot overlook the importance of blood within our bodies. We often think of the heart as the center of life, but the heart is just the guide, the one who creates the beats, while the blood is the companion, the river that takes us to new lands, to new emotions in life's journey. Yet, within these small rivers, within the flowing blood inside us, there is a miracle that we can never truly see. That is its wonderful silence. The blood does not need words, does not need sound. It simply flows, moving through the paths that have been mapped out, quietly and persistently. Every beat of the heart is its voice. Every time the blood travels through the vessels, it whispers messages only our body can understand. In that silence, the blood brings us a wordless message, a reminder of life, the preciousness of every moment we have. Surely you've wondered, why can't we feel the blood flowing inside us? Why does it flow so silently? And perhaps the answer is simple. The blood doesn't need to be noticed. It performs its job by itself. That's why the blood teaches us a lesson in humility, in persistence, in a life that doesn't require praise, but continues to exist, continues to matter. It shows us that the invisible, the small, is the foundation of everything grand and important in this life. Just like a river in nature, sometimes the blood must face challenges, obstacles. When we face illness, when our bodies are unwell, that is when the blood has to struggle to find balance. But even in those moments, the blood is not weak. It finds ways to recover, to heal, to regenerate. That is why blood is not only a symbol of life, but also a symbol of resilience, of perseverance, never stopping. And when night falls, when we lie down on our bed, when we surrender ourselves to sleep, remember that the blood is still flowing, still doing its work. It doesn't need rest. It doesn't need to stop. It continues its journey, like the small rivers flowing through the quiet night. And even if we are tired, even if we sometimes forget its existence, the blood still quietly whispers inside us, reminding us of life, of the preciousness of each heartbeat, each breath, each moment of existence in this life. And as we close our thoughts on these small rivers flowing within the body, we suddenly realize that blood is not only life, it is also the home of emotions. It doesn't just carry oxygen and nutrients, it also carries our joy, our sorrow, our fear, and our anger. Right there, where each tiny blood vessel trembles, are the waves of emotion that spread throughout our body, creating vibrations that sometimes we can only feel, but not name. When you are sad, have you ever felt your chest heavy, your heart beating slower, your breath becoming longer, as if the whole world inside you is shrinking? When you are angry, do you feel the blood in your body boil, a warmth spreading to your neck, face, and palms? And when you are happy, can you sense a warmth spreading throughout you, your heart beating like it's celebrating? That's not just imagination, it's real. Because every emotion, no matter how small, leaves its mark in the blood. It makes it change, it makes it move differently. In those moments, the blood becomes the truest mirror of the human soul. Scientists may call this a physiological response. Adrenaline rising when we are afraid, dopamine increasing when we are happy, cortisol spreading when we are stressed. But if we look through the eyes of someone who listens to their body, we can see it as a song. When happy, the heartbeat is faster. When anxious, the rhythm becomes slower and hoarser. When peaceful, the melody flows evenly, as light as the whisper of the night wind. And the blood it is that music, flowing through every cell, joining with each breath, reminding us that emotions are not just in our minds, but alive in every muscle, every vein of our body. Emotions and blood, in fact, always go hand in hand, like two parallel currents, one invisible, one tangible. When we worry, our hearts beat faster, not because the heart is afraid, but because the blood is rushing, trying to transport energy to our muscles, preparing us to fight or flee. When we love, the blood quietly warms, flowing through the body like a soft spring stream, making our cheeks flush, our palms sweat lightly, and we feel ourselves melting in a nameless happiness. All these things don't reside in thought, they reside in the body, and it is the blood that whispers the language of our emotions. If we stop and listen to ourselves, we will realize that every emotion has its own color in the blood. Fear may be a deep red, heavy, flowing swiftly through the tiny blood vessels. Joy is lighter, like a pale pink reflecting under the skin. Sorrow is a slow, muted color, sometimes making our hearts feel cold, even though the sun is shining. The blood doesn't speak, but it sings, and each person carries within them their own unique melody, a melody written by emotion, played with every heartbeat. The human body is a miraculous symphony, where the heart is the conductor, the blood vessels are the strings, and emotions are the melody. When our minds are peaceful, the heart guides the blood gently, evenly, like the rhythm of the waves on the shore. But even a little anxiety, a passing moment of anger, changes that rhythm. Blood pressure rises, the blood becomes more hurried, like a hurried, tense piece of music. And when we learn to love, to forgive, to slow our hearts, the blood flows slowly again, gently, like a small stream in the late forest. The strange thing is, blood not only affects our emotions, but it also affects the emotions themselves. When we take a deep breath, when we slow down, when we relax our shoulders, the blood becomes calmer. As the flow inside us slows, softens, the negative emotions slowly fade away. It's like when a river stops roaring in a storm, the water becomes clearer, and we can see the bottom. This is the harmonious blending of body and soul, the union of blood and emotions, an inseparable connection. Perhaps that's why people often say, a hot-tempered person, a cold-hearted person. Hot blood boils with anger, cold blood makes the heart frozen. These folk expressions, which may seem metaphorical, are actually quite accurate when it comes to the body's mechanisms. Emotions can really change temperature, heart rate, and the speed of blood flow. And the blood, even though it has no consciousness, still reacts to every small shift in our minds. It's like a loyal friend, always reflecting the true state of our souls. When we fall in love, the blood carries serotonin and dopamine substances that make us feel euphoric, full of energy. When we are hurt, the blood becomes heavier, flowing more slowly, making the body feel sluggish and tired. And if sorrow persists, the oxygen levels in the blood decrease. The heartbeat slows down, as if the body is joining the soul in lament. Everything is interconnected, inseparable. Emotions may begin in the mind, but it is the blood that records them. And perhaps that's why, when someone hugs us tightly, when we hear a gentle song, or when someone listens to us sincerely, we feel calmer, warmer. It's not just our minds that are comforted, it's because the blood in us has truly changed. The level of stress hormones decreases, blood vessels expand, and the heartbeat returns to a regular rhythm. the body and emotions begin to unify. We feel as if we are healing from within. If we know how to live a little slower, to breathe deeply, to listen to our bodies, we will feel the blood whispering. It tells us, "Don't worry, I'm still here. I still flow, still live, still carry love throughout your body." These whispers, though they cannot be heard with the ears, can be felt with a hand on the chest, with a breath, with each heartbeat. Each person has their own river, and emotions are the waters that determine how it flows. At times, when our hearts are heavy, when our hearts beat fast, when our breath is rapid, that's when emotions are surging, making the blood wild, like a river in flood. But there are also rare moments when we sit silently under the sky or listen to the sound of rain, when we feel our hearts calming, the beat slowing, the blood flowing more gently. That's when the mind and body are in harmony. Everything inside us at that moment becomes transparent, and life, even for a second, becomes incredibly light. Emotions are the soul of a person, and the blood is the body of that soul. They cannot exist apart. If one is disturbed, the other will falter as well. A soul that has been wounded for a long time can make the body sick. A weakened body can make the mind dull. And everything begins with the blood. If the blood flows evenly, rhythmically, emotions will be more stable. But if the blood is blocked, tense, compressed, then emotions become hurried, confused, and fragile. That's why caring for emotions is also caring for the blood. When we learn to forgive, to let go, to smile, we are not just calming the mind, we are also helping the blood flow more smoothly, helping the heart feel lighter. When we learn to love and be loved, the body produces oxytocin, the love hormone, which causes the blood vessels to dilate, lowering blood pressure. Each cell is nourished by that positive energy, and so the blood doesn't just carry nutrients, it carries love throughout our body. Thus, sometimes, instead of trying to suppress our emotions, we just need to allow ourselves to feel, to cry, to be sad, to tremble, to breathe. Emotions need to flow, just like blood needs to flow, because when we try to stop them, the blood gets blocked. When we try to forget, the heart becomes heavy. Only when we dare to let go, to allow emotions to flow through us like a river through the valley, will both our mind and body truly heal. You see, blood and emotions are two matching rhythms, two breaths as one. The blood whispers within us, and emotions resound in our minds. They are not opposites, but two halves of a single being, a living person, capable of feeling, capable of loving, and perhaps in the stillness of tonight, as you listen, your blood is also softly flowing, carrying away the weariness of the day, bringing peace to every cell sinking into sleep. The blood never boasts, it simply flows. It doesn't question why it must nourish, why it must continue. It simply carries out its duty, because that is its nature, and it is in this silence that it becomes greater than ever before. Just like the sun never needs to proclaim that it is shining, blood never needs to affirm that it is life. It simply needs to exist, and that is enough. When we sit still in the night, in a dark room filled only with the sound of our breath, you can feel the stillness spreading throughout your body. Beneath your thin skin, in the delicate veins, tiny waves are flowing. Each drop of blood is a grain of energy, a piece of time, a beat of life. They gently collide with the vessel walls, creating a soundless music, the music of existence. Sometimes, in the noise of the world, we need to pause simply to listen to that music. A silent sound that is deeper than any symphony out there. The silence of the blood is much like the silence of love. There are some loves that go unsaid, but burn fiercely in every glance, every heartbeat. There are people who never say "I love you," but spend their whole lives protecting, caring for, and bringing peace to the one they love. The blood in our bodies is the same. It loves us in its own way, quietly but steadfastly, gently but persistently. The human body is a miniature universe. Inside it, the blood is like the stars, constantly moving. Each cycle is a perfect orbit. All of this happens in silence, no light, no sound, only movement. And it is this silence that makes the body a miracle, because to maintain perfect order in peaceful stillness, there needs to be an immense, invisible force, a force that is always present, but never seen. There is a paradox. When we are healthy, we never pay attention to the blood. It is only when it stops flowing properly, when the body weakens, that we realize what we have been living on. Just like we never hear the heart until it beats erratically from pain or loss, we only truly realize the value of that precious silence when it is broken, and then we regret, wishing we had appreciated those peaceful moments without even knowing. The silence of the blood is a lesson in inner stillness. In today's modern life, we are surrounded by noise, the ringing of phones, the sound of traffic, the clamor of work and relationships. We forget that the most valuable things in us remain silent. The blood, the heartbeat, the breath, they are the foundation of every laugh, every word, every plan, every dream. If one day we learn to pause and listen to that silence, we will find our hearts lighter, for in the silence, the body is speaking to us. A wordless conversation between life and awareness. If we slow down just a little, we will realize this silence is not empty. It is filled with movement, filled with life. The blood is still flowing, the heart is still beating, the breath is still coming and going. Everything continues, whether we notice it or not. And that brings an extraordinary sense of peace, as if the universe is embracing us, reminding us, you are still alive, you are still here. When we fall asleep, the body does not rest. The blood continues its journey, flowing through the hills of muscles, through the forests of nerve cells, through the valleys of organs. It repairs, it restores, it regenerates. It never complains. It simply does what it must, and perhaps that is a reminder for us that sometimes strength does not lie in noise, but in stillness and persistence. Think of the peaceful moments in life. An early morning with no sound, only the sunlight and the soft wind. A late night when the whole world is asleep, and it's just you with your steady heartbeat. That is when you are in tune with the blood in your body. Both are silent, both are flowing, both are sensing life. No reason, no purpose, simply existing. Just like the river outside, the blood within us never stops. It may flow fast when we are excited, slow when we are tired, but it never stops completely. And strangely enough, that makes us grateful. Grateful that a part of us is always guarding, always working, even when we don't pay attention. Grateful that in our weakest moments, there is something strong within us that continues. If we look deeper, the silence of the blood reflects how we should live. In a world where everyone wants to speak loudly, quickly, and much, the blood chooses to go the opposite way, quietly but effectively, invisible but indispensable. It is a mirror for dedication, not showy, not seeking to be seen, just completing its task. When we understand this, we learn to appreciate silence. We no longer fear solitude. We no longer fear the quiet moments in life, because we know that silence does not mean emptiness. It is the foundation of everything. In the silence, we hear ourselves more clearly. In the silence, we sense the life flowing through every vein. And in the silence, we know that no matter how stormy it gets outside, inside us, there is a steady heartbeat, a resolute river always flowing. And perhaps that is the greatest miracle of life. Not in the flashy things, but in the quiet ones. Not in the loud noise, but in the silent beats. The blood, that invisible river, is the whisper of life that greets us every day. A message saying, live gently, like me, love steadily, like me, and be silent when needed. For sometimes, it is in silence that we touch the most sacred thing, existence. So tonight, as you lie still in your room, let your body rest. Let the heart sing on its own. Let the blood flow on its own. Let life speak for itself in the quietest sound in the world. Take a deep breath, then release it. Feel the warmth spreading. It is not just blood. It is the silent music of life, still resonating within you, whispering in the night, telling you the timeless story of the silence of the blood in the body, of an invisible journey, but endless, gentle, and full of love. And then, as we walk through the story of the silence of the blood, where each drop flows quietly, like the whisper of life, we enter a new chapter in that journey, the blood and the miraculous healing power of the human body. Because in that silence, there is not only existence, but also a hidden strength, the strength of regeneration, the power of healing, and the perseverance that never ceases. When our body is injured, when a layer of skin tears, when a cell is harmed, the first thing that happens is not a cry of pain, but movement. The blood, that warm red river, immediately wakes up. It doesn't panic. It doesn't rush, but silently sets off like a well-trained army, heading for the place that needs healing. Every red blood cell, every white blood cell, every clotting factor knows exactly what its role is. No need for a commander, no need for a call. They all work together in the perfect silence of life. If we look closely at the wound, not just with our eyes, but with our minds, we will see a little universe at work. The blood flows there, bringing not just nutrients, but also hope. It brings specialized cells, like skilled workers, starting to repair each small damaged part. The clotting factors combine to create a protective layer, preventing the body from losing more energy. Then the white blood cells move in, cleaning up dead cells, killing invading bacteria, and clearing the battlefield. After that, the blood continues to bring new cells, the necessary materials to regenerate until that wound, after some time, is no longer a sign of damage, but evidence of rebirth. That is the miracle of the body, and the blood is the artist that creates that miracle. It does not just flow to nourish, it also flows to heal. And the miracle is, the body doesn't need us to give it orders. We don't have to say, heal. The blood knows what to do. The life in us is smarter than we think. It has memory, instinct, and patience. The human body is always in a process of healing, even though we can't see it. Every second, millions of old cells are dying, and millions of new cells are being born. The blood is the carrier for both of those journeys, carrying out the old, bringing in the new. It is the loyal messenger of life, always in motion, always in transition. And it is through this persistence that the body can overcome what seems impossible. A deep wound, a severe illness, or even emotional pain, all of them can heal, as long as the blood keeps flowing, as long as the heart keeps beating. Sometimes we feel exhausted, as if our body is giving up, as though we are collapsing. But in reality, inside us, thousands of little rivers are still working tirelessly, trying to regenerate each small part of life. When we have a fever, when we are in pain, when we feel the body fighting, that is not weakness, but a sign that the blood is battling, it is healing. That is how the body tells us, I am still trying, no matter how tired you are. The blood in the body not only heals physical wounds, but also affects our mind, because when the body heals, the mind also finds comfort. When the blood circulates strongly, the body becomes healthier. And when the body becomes healthier, our soul becomes lighter. There are wounds that do not appear on the skin, but lie deep in the heart. The wounds of memory, of loss, of loneliness. But the interesting thing is, it is the body through the blood that helps us heal those things too. When we breathe deeply, when we allow ourselves to rest, the blood flows more easily, bringing oxygen to the brain, releasing happiness hormones, soothing the mind. Each heartbeat, each flow of blood is like a sweet lullaby. Rest assured, I am here. I will heal you. If we could personify blood, it would be the most loyal friend, the one who never abandons us, even when we forget it exists. When we are happy, it flows gently. When we are sad, it flows slower, but it never stops. When we are in pain, it comes alongside, silently doing its job. And when we sleep, it continues its journey, bringing energy throughout the body, so that when we open our eyes tomorrow, we have a little more strength, a little more peace. The body heals not in noise, but in silence. Healing is a process of small but steady movements. Like how a seed grows from the earth after a storm, no one hears it. But one day, we realize that life has returned. The blood is the same. It works in the dark, where light cannot reach, where there is only silence and rhythm. But in that silence, all miracles occur. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from medicine, but from allowing the body to rest, to breathe, to trust. When we are anxious, stressed, the blood is suffocated. But when we calm down, relax, it flows gently, spreading the healing energy everywhere. Therefore, the way we live, the way we feel, also affects the body's ability to heal. A peaceful mind helps blood circulate better. A loving heart makes the regeneration process happen faster. The blood not only heals the body, but it also listens to our soul. Imagine the body as a garden, and the blood as small streams, flowing through each piece of land. When one area is dry, the stream will come, bringing water, nutrients, and life. It moistens the land, makes the grass grow back, and flowers bloom. The body is the same. When one part is damaged, the blood is that stream, gentle but strong, silent but effective. And in the late hours, when we relax into sleep, that is when the blood works hardest. In the dark, when all the outside senses rest, the body within begins to clean and rebuild. The blood brings oxygen, brings protein, brings hope to every cell. The small wounds on the skin, the tiredness of the muscles, even the cracks in the soul, all of them are soothed comforted by the blood. The next morning, when you wake up, you may not realize it, but the body has changed a little. It's healthier, stronger, and more peaceful. There is something beautiful. The blood not only regenerates the physical, but also teaches us a lesson in patience. Every wound needs time. No healing happens in an instant. Just like the blood, it doesn't hurry. It flows steadily, little by little, day after day. It rebuilds what was lost, refreshes what was old. And so, we can only truly heal when we learn to trust time and the silent flow within ourselves. Perhaps, in life, everyone has bled in one way or another. Sometimes it's a wound on the skin, sometimes it's a wound in the heart. But the important thing is not how much blood we have lost, but that we still have blood to flow, still have life to be reborn. And the blood, no matter how many times it is lost, always finds a way back, always finds a way to continue its journey. Just like life, always seeks balance, no matter how many storms it has passed through. So tonight, as you lie still in your small room, when your heart is still beating steadily, know that the blood within you is performing the greatest miracle in the world, healing you, whether you realize it or not. It doesn't need light. It doesn't need thanks. It just needs to continue flowing, to continue living, to continue loving the body it belongs to. And in every heartbeat, there is the story of millions of cells singing the song of life. A song that no one hears, but echoes through every strand of hair, every breath, every dream. This is the symphony of healing, where the blood is the conductor, the storyteller, the one who breathes life into the body, so that each morning we wake up, we can softly say, I am still alive, and I am healing. And when we close the story about the healing power of blood, we realize that this healing is only truly complete when the little rivers in the body, the tiny blood vessels, continue to flow freely, steadily, because if one day these rivers weaken, if they stop singing the song of life, then all the miracles within us will start to slow down. That is when we understand the health of the circulatory system is the foundation of overall health, the bridge between existence and prosperity for every cell within us. The human body is a map filled with small rivers. Tens of thousands of blood vessels weave through everywhere, connecting every corner. From the hair to the tips of the toes, each of these flows carries oxygen, nutrients, and energy, everything necessary to keep the body alive. But just like the rivers outside, if they get blocked, the water becomes stagnant, polluted, and the land around them will begin to dry up. The body is the same. When the blood no longer flows freely, each part weakens, each cell grows tired. It is no coincidence that people say, the health of the blood vessels is the health of the entire body. The blood, in its silence, is the great conductor. It brings oxygen to each cell to sustain life, carries waste back for disposal, and spreads the signal of balance. A healthy heart will make those little rivers flow powerfully, while a weak heart or a careless lifestyle will slow that flow, make it thicker, heavier. At that point, the body becomes like a land ravaged by floods, no longer alive, no longer green. Try to imagine, in every moment you are sitting here, millions of cells in you are breathing. Each cell needs oxygen to live, and the blood is the carrier of that oxygen. When the blood vessels are blocked, like a river dammed by rocks, the areas behind them will lack water. The cells there will lack oxygen, will weaken, and gradually die. This process happens quietly, without causing immediate pain, but leaves long-lasting consequences. That is why some people look healthy, but inside them, the rivers have begun to dry. And the scariest thing is that we often don't realize this, because the blood, by nature, is silent. It doesn't complain when it flows slowly. It doesn't warn when there's an obstruction. Only when a part of the body hurts, when the heart becomes heavy, when the mind is foggy, do we know that these rivers are tired. But by then, it is often too late. The human body, as miraculous as it is also strangely fragile. Just one small flow being blocked, and the entire system can be disrupted. One blood vessel blocked, one cell dead, and the chain reaction starts to spread like a drought originating from a dammed stream. Therefore, taking care of the health of the circulatory system is not just about keeping the heart healthy, but also keeping the blood flowing lightly, clearly, and freely, not allowing it to be trapped in stressful lifestyles, in fast food, in unhealthy habits. Because the blood doesn't just carry nutrients, it carries emotions. Every time we worry, the blood contracts. Every time we get angry, it surges. And every time we feel at peace, it flows gently like a stream. Physical and mental health, in fact, begin in the same place where these little rivers meet in the heart. The body is like a garden. The circulatory system is the irrigation system. If the water flows evenly, the soil will be fertile, the plants will be lush, and the flowers will bloom. But if the water stagnates or cannot reach where it's needed, the weeds will grow, the soil will dry, and life will wither. We cannot expect a beautiful garden if we don't take care of the flowing water. Similarly, we cannot expect comprehensive health if we neglect the little rivers in our bodies. The miracle is, the body always has the ability to renew itself. If we give it a chance, all we need is to make a small change. Eat slower, sleep deeper, breathe longer, smile more. The blood will respond immediately. It will become lighter, more flexible, and each cell will be nourished again. Some people just need to learn how to relax, learn to love themselves, and their bodies naturally become healthier, their skin brighter, their breath deeper. Because when the mind is at peace, the blood is at peace. When the blood is at peace, the whole body will follow. The circulatory system is not just a biological system, it is a mirror reflecting how we live. People who listen to their bodies, who know when to stop when they're tired, who care for themselves, will have a flexible, soft circulatory system, like a stream in the forest that flows through rocks and still keeps its song. But those who rush, get angry, forget themselves. Their blood will gradually thicken, the flow will weaken, and life within them will become heavier. There's an interesting truth that many people don't know. Blood only truly lives when we move, when we walk, when we breathe, when we laugh. The body stretches, the heart beats, the blood vessels open. The flow is awakened. But when we sit still, when we suppress emotions, when we let worries cling to every breath, the blood slows down. And when the blood slows down, everything else slows: metabolism, energy, vitality, even joy. So sometimes, a gentle step outside in the sun, or a deep breath in silence, is enough to clear those little rivers inside us. Blood and overall health are two halves of a circle. One side is physical movement, the other is mental movement. If one side is blocked, the other stops. Many people look for medication, look for solutions, but forget the simplest thing. Health is not outside us. It is right inside the flow of our own being. Every deep breath, every moment of relaxation, every restful sleep is a time we help the blood revive. When we look at nature, we see that similarity so clearly. The rivers outside, if blocked, the water becomes murky, moss grows, and life slowly dies. But if we let it flow freely, the water becomes clear, fish return, and flowers turn green. The human body is the same, a blood flow hindered by stress, worry, anger, is no different from a river dammed. To keep the blood pure, let the mind be light. To keep the body healthy, let the heart be calm. We live in an age full of pressures where people can buy supplements but forget how to breathe. We can earn money to take care of our health, but we don't know how to listen to our bodies. Meanwhile, those little rivers inside us still flow tirelessly, still trying to keep everything working, even though sometimes we've exhausted them. They don't complain, they just quietly work, like loyal craftsmen dedicated to life. But if we don't help them, don't protect them, one day, when they weaken, the body will speak up through pain, through the small signs we often ignore. Remember, a healthy body doesn't come from luck, but from understanding. When we learn to love our blood, when we care for the circulatory system, we are caring for the entire life. Drink a warm glass of water in the morning to awaken the river within you. Step outside for a while to let your heart beat faster. Smile to let happiness hormones spread through your bloodstream. Breathe deeply to nourish every cell with fresh air. And above all, slow down so the blood can sing softly, gently, like the ancient lullaby of life. Because ultimately, health is not just the absence of illness. Health is when the blood flows smoothly inside us, when the body and mind are in harmony. It's when we truly feel alive without hurry, without fatigue, without force. Tonight, before you sleep, place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Feel the little rivers flowing inside your body, silently, persistently. Send them a thank you for working tirelessly so that you can live, love, and dream. Then relax. Let the river inside you continue to flow so that life can pass through each tiny vein, bringing peace and revival. And when you fall into sleep, those little rivers will still sing, still flow, still continue telling the story of health, the story of the little rivers in the body, the story of flow, patience, and the miracle called life. And as we just went through the story of the health of the little rivers in the body, the persistent blood vessels that nurture life, we realize that blood not only connects the parts of the body, but also connects us to something larger, nature, and the vast universe. Because sometimes, in the rush of life, we forget that we are also a part of nature, not separate, not independent, but part of a great cycle where all living beings are nurtured by the same beat, the beat of life. If we close our eyes and listen, we'll realize that the blood inside us and the river outside are not that different. Both carry the same mission: to nourish, to connect, and to sustain existence. The river flows through the earth, bringing nutrients, bringing moisture, bringing life to every field, every forest. The blood inside us does the same, silently carrying nutrients, carrying breath, carrying warmth to every cell. One is a river flowing through nature, the other is a river flowing through the body, but both are endless lifelines that never stop. When we look at nature, we see the movement. The wind blows, the rain falls, the river flows, the trees grow. Everything follows a harmonious law. as if there is an invisible hand guiding it all. The human body is the same. The heart beats, the blood flows, the lungs breathe in, breathe out. No one teaches, no one reminds, but it all happens, steadily and accurately. The blood inside us is like a miniature version of the universe outside. It carries within it the same principle, the same rhythm, the same cycle, as if nature has implanted a part of its own life rhythm inside us. And this is absolutely true because we are born from nature and will return to nature. Our blood is made of water, minerals, air, sunlight, and food given by Mother Earth. Every cell in our body is the culmination of millions of years of evolution. A fusion of earth, water, wind, and fire, the four elements that make up the universe. Therefore, when blood flows in us, it is nature flowing in us. When our heart beats, the earth is beating. When we take a deep breath, we are breathing in the life rhythm of all beings. Yet, modern humans sometimes forget this. We separate ourselves from nature with walls, screens, and a fast-paced lifestyle. We think we are the center, the controllers, the rulers, but the blood inside us, something we think is ours alone, still carries the rhythm of nature, still flows according to the laws of earth and sky, regardless of our will. It follows the cycles of the sun, the moon, and the changing seasons. When it's cold, the blood contracts. When it's hot, the blood expands. When we see the first light of day, the hormones in our blood change to awaken the body. When night falls, the blood gradually slows down, lightens up, preparing for sleep. We think we live separately, but in reality, our bodies are synchronized with the universe. Every minute, every second, there is a beautiful truth. Our blood contains iron, an element created from supernova explosions billions of years ago. In other words, in every one of us, there flows stardust. Every drop of blood is a small fragment of the universe, proof that we are not just part of the earth, but part of the vast sky. When we look at the night sky, we are not just gazing at something far away, but we are seeing our origin, the place where everything began. And like the rivers outside, the blood inside us also needs to stay clean, pure, and free. A polluted river will make the land around it dry up. A murky, clogged river will weaken the body and tire the mind. When we don't eat healthily, when we live hastily, when we fill our hearts with worry, the blood inside us becomes heavy. It loses its natural rhythm, losing the ability to reflect the harmony of the universe. Because blood, by nature, is a part of nature. If we live against nature, its flow inside us will lose direction. But all we need to do is return to nature, and the miracle will happen. Try going outside, breathe the fresh air of the morning, feel the sun warming your skin, hear the birds sing, and the leaves rustle. In that moment, you will feel the flow of blood within you change to lighter, more rhythmic. The blood reacts immediately to the vibrations of nature, as if the two heartbeats have synchronized. Nature and humans, not two separate entities, but a unified being. Both flow, both circulate, both nurture life. When a river dries up, the land it nourishes withers. When the blood within us stagnates, life itself halts. This is the sacred connection, a perfect reflection between the macrocosm and the microcosm, between the universe and the human body. And we, each of us, are the meeting point between these two rivers, between the body's blood and the river of Mother Earth. There is an invisible thread that connects, That's why when we step onto wet sand, when the sea touches our skin, when the wind brushes through our hair, we feel a deep peace that nothing else can bring. Because in those moments, the two flows, one inside us and one outside us, are meeting, recognizing each other. Perhaps that's why humans have a tendency to seek nature. When we are tired, we want to go to the sea. When we are sad, we want to gaze at the forest. When we feel lost, we want to climb mountains or lie under the starry sky. We think we're looking for rest, but in reality, we are searching for our origins, the place where the blood and the river are one, where our breath merges with the wind, where our heartbeat matches the rhythm of the waves, where our body returns to its purest state, one with the universe. But the most beautiful thing is not that we leave the city to find nature, but that nature is always within us. Even when we live amidst concrete, on nights without stars, in days of dust, the blood is still flowing. It still reminds us we belong to nature. All we need is to close our eyes, to listen, and we will feel the wind inside, the river inside, and the light radiating from our hearts. That's why, when we live in harmony with the rhythm, eating what nature provides, breathing deeply, moving enough, loving sincerely, the body naturally becomes healthier and the mind more peaceful. Because in those moments, we are living in tune with the laws of nature, not against them. Clear, free, and full of energy. And perhaps the most miraculous thing about the blood is its ability to connect. It doesn't just connect the parts of the body, it also connects us to others. When we love, when we are moved, when we touch someone's hand, the blood reacts instantly. The heart beats faster. Warmth spreads throughout the body. Love, an emotion that seems to belong to the soul, is expressed through the very blood. It is proof that every connection in the universe, though invisible, shares something in common. They are all flows. Nature teaches us a simple truth. Every life needs to circulate. Rivers must flow. Blood must flow. Emotions must flow. Love must flow. If one flow stops, life ceases, and the world, both inside and outside us, needs that circulation to continue. So, whenever you feel your heart growing heavy, whenever you feel tired, remember, there is still a river inside you. Just let it flow freely through forgiveness, through love, through breath, and you will feel connected to everything. Tonight, if you look up at the sky and see the sparkling stars, remember that part of that light is flowing through your blood. And when you place your hand on your chest, feeling that gentle heartbeat, know that it is not just your heartbeat, but the heartbeat of the universe beating within the form of a human being. And in the stillness of the night, when the blood is still flowing, when the heart is still beating, let yourself merge once more with nature, with Mother Earth, with the sky, with all beings, because ultimately, the blood within us is also the river of the universe, the place where all life begins, where all souls meet, where existence never ends. And as we close the story of the connection between blood and the universe, we realize a gentle truth in all these flows. There is a very small, very soft sound, but it resonates throughout our lives. The whisper of the blood, a wordless song, yet containing all that pertains to life. It does not need to be heard. It does not need to be named. As long as you live, it is already echoing, steady and full of love. If you sit still in the night, place your hand on your chest and feel the rhythm of your heartbeat. You will sense something truly peaceful. Beneath the skin, beneath the bones and flesh, the blood is still flowing silently and steadily. It is not hurried, nor is it weak. It simply does its job, as if whispering, "I am still here. I am still living with you." We may never hear that voice with our ears, but our body hears it, our heart feels it, and our soul understands. The blood, with its perseverance, is a song about existence. Every drop that flows is a testament to the continuing of life, to the journey we are still walking. Even if we sometimes forget that fact, we may feel overwhelmed, lost in our worries, but the blood does not. It is never tired, never stopped, never complained. It just flows gently but strongly, like a river in the night, reflecting the moon while still heading toward the vast ocean. It's strange, isn't it? Our bodies are a small living world, and the blood is the rhythm of that world. When the heart beats, the blood flows. When the blood flows, we live. It sounds simple, but it is the miracle we experience every day. We don't need anything extravagant to realize the value of life. Just knowing that the blood is still flowing within us is enough to feel gratitude. Yet, in the noise of life, we forget that silence. We no longer listen to our bodies, no longer feel each heartbeat, no longer pay attention to our breath. We forget that life is not loud. It is as gentle as a breeze, as subtle as a ray of light filtering through the leaves, as tender as the blood that still flows every night as we drift into sleep. The blood never calls for attention, but always reminds us of one thing, that we are still here, and life is still unfolding. Sometimes we only realize that whisper when we face those fragile moments, when the heart loses its rhythm, when the breath becomes heavy, when the vitality suddenly seems as fragile as a candle flame before the wind. It is in those moments that we see how precious the blood is. Each heartbeat becomes sacred. Each breath becomes something to cherish. We realize that life is not something to take for granted. It is a gift given to us every second, every minute, through every drop of blood flowing in us. And then we learn to listen, not with our ears, but with our hearts. When we calm ourselves, we feel that whisper in every beat of our heart. It doesn't speak with words, but it tells us the story of patience, that even when we are weak, even when we give up, the blood never abandons us. It is our most loyal friend, the friend who doesn't need us to care for it, yet always cares for us. Each drop of blood is a small piece of the soul, carrying memories, emotions, wounds, and joy. When we are happy, the blood flows faster. When we are scared, it contracts. When we love, it heats up. When we are sad, it becomes still. This means that the blood not only reflects life but also contains our soul. It knows what we are feeling, what we are thinking, even before we speak it out loud. Perhaps the whisper of the blood is the voice of the soul, a voice that never ceases to resonate in the body, whether we are listening or not. And perhaps the blood wants to tell us, slow down a little, breathe a little deeper, love yourself a little more. Because every time we rush, every time we wear ourselves out, the blood has to work harder, strain more to keep us alive. It doesn't complain, doesn't get angry. It just silently does what it needs to do. But sometimes its silence is also a gentle reminder that our bodies need to be listened to, need to rest, need to be loved. Imagine, in each drop of blood, millions of cells are working. They move tirelessly, carrying oxygen, clearing waste, healing the tiny wounds we don't even know about. They work for us, day and night, without complaint. All so that we can continue living, continue smiling, continue dreaming. If we could thank someone every day, perhaps we should thank the blood, because it has silently done everything, just to allow us to exist. The blood is proof that life doesn't need to show off. It doesn't need to be loud to be recognized. It simply needs to flow silently. And in that silence, there is a power like no other. Just like life, sometimes the deepest things are found in those we overlook. A heartbeat, a breath, a river of blood. If we listen carefully, we will see that the blood not only speaks of life, but also speaks of gratitude, because each drop of blood flowing is an opportunity for us to continue. Each heartbeat is a moment that we are still here, still loved, still feeling, still alive. It reminds us that nothing is eternal, but in each passing second, there is one thing that always exists, the life whispering within us. And in that silence, we also learn to listen to other things. The wind outside the window, the leaves gently rustling, the heartbeat of someone close by. Everything is life communicating with one another through the language of rhythm. The blood inside us, the river outside, and the air surrounding us, all flowing, all breathing, all telling us, you are alive. We often search for the meaning of life in far-off places, in fame, in wealth, in grand things. But sometimes that meaning is found in something very small, in the blood flowing within us, because it is the truest witness of time, the rhythm that has accompanied us from the moment we were born to the moment we leave this life. It never stops, not until the very last moment, the moment when its whisper fades, and we know that our journey has come to an end. But even when we leave, the blood does not disappear. It returns to the Mother Earth, becoming nourishment for another life, for another heartbeat, because the essence of life is this: there is no end, only transition. And the blood, no matter whose body it flows through, carries the same message. Live fully, gently, and with gratitude. Tonight, when you lie down, close your eyes. Feel the heartbeat in your wrist, in your chest. Let the whisper lull you to sleep, the whisper of blood, the whisper of life, the whisper of the universe flowing through you. It doesn't speak a word, but in that,